We are live post AEW Double or Nothing. You know what I just realized is this is the first Double or Nothing show, except for during the pandemic, that I was not there. Not that I went to, I missed last year's show, but because they were all in Vegas during F4W convention weekend, I was always there during this weekend. And because it was in Arizona and we did Vegas for WrestleMania and stuff, I just realized this is the first time I wasn't actually in the same area that the show was held. So welcome, Jeff Hawkins, Jeremy Finestone. This is the Scrum Show. We're going to break down AEW Double or Nothing, do it a little differently than how everyone else does it. I got some questions to ask the panel here about what we just saw, including a pretty fantastic main event, I would say. Even for some of the non-AEW fans or the AEW naysayers, I think there was a lot to like in that main event. I haven't seen all the praise, but so far it's been universal. So why don't we just get to it? Like the big news in the show, Will Ospreay and Hangman Page in the main event. I think it was a bit of an upset. Did you guys have Hangman winning the match? Like if you were to bet money on it?
Yeah, I did.
Jeff did.
I thought Hangman, though.
I thought it was the wrong choice, but I thought he was going to win.
Actually, I thought Will, and so I do that show on Friday, the Wrestling's Radio with Dave, and he's trying to. Dave doesn't usually fantasy book, so this was really interesting, where he fantasy booked essentially Hangman winning, and then Hangman beating Moxley, and then Will helping him beat Moxley in order to get the shot at Forbidden Door to win the title. I think that was pretty much Dave's scenario. And I was like, let's just get Will beating Mox and let's just do it from there.
Give me a second here. When is Forbidden Door in relation to All In?
It's like a month and a half after.
So you're gonna give Hangman a month and a half title reign?
Well, he's already had one. He's got one before.
I'm with you
on his redemption story. Okay.
I'm with you, Jeff. Like
this is why I thought Ospreay should win. Yes. Because
this is exactly the reason why Ospreay should win.
Now, here's the other part of it, which is if Ospreay doesn't win and he doesn't end up champion in London, we're waiting a whole other year for Wembley Stadium. Oh my gosh!
And we probably have
there's a window
or Swerve title reign in there too.
Wow. Yeah. All right, let's get going. I just want to shout out Fernando. Fernando was hanging out in the chat even before we got going. Shout out to Fernando. Shout out to Maria Graciela. Of course, always love to see them hanging out in the chat with us. So. Mentioned Hangman beats Will Ospreay. Great match. We'll talk about how great everyone thinks in a second here. But I didn't even put this on the question list, but I started to think about it as this match was happening. Now, Jeff, I'll let you go first. This is an easy one. It's okay. You're going to be able to react very quickly. But the build-up for this match was that it was going to be this great main event. Did it meet expectations for you? Did it exceed expectations for you? Or did it not meet expectations for you by the end of it?
By the end of it, it met expectations. My main critique of the main event is it didn't get the tone right until about halfway through the match. Because the build was based on this kind of animus and also the Ospreay, I need to prove I'm tougher than you, so I'm tough enough to beat Jon Moxley. Mm-hmm. And when they were out on the apron doing the punching and the striking, and Taz and Excalibur going, I don't think you should be getting into a striking battle with Hangman because of the size. I was like, no, that's exactly what this match should have been from the get-go. Because
are you telling me that Taz was not paying attention to any of their own storylines as he was broadcasting like every single television show leading up to this pay-per-view?
No, but it was one of those things where it's like, this is where I, and possibly Jeremy, but others differ in that I don't think the story of having a great match is a compelling one. I think the tone should be, I'm desperate to get that title, so I'm going to have to run through you to get it so I don't get beat up too much to go after Moxley. And I think once they started punch, kick, and all that stuff, it stopped being just a slow match and actually had some spice to it. That's my opinion.
Okay, now, before I get to Jeremy, I want to follow up with you. Do you think that they had to start slow because Anarchy in the Arena was exactly as advertised and maybe even more? It was half non-serious and then crazy and insane. And so Will even talked about this in the build-up to on the Wednesday promo by saying, can we follow something like that? Which I thought was a little too meta for the audience. But
I agreed with you on that point, by the way.
But there had to be some reality in there because that match is so crazy, and then you got to follow it. And so did you agree? So you didn't agree with them kind of starting slow to build up to the crazy finish. You wanted them to actually get started a little hotter, I guess.
No, I have no problem with slow as long as it's violent.
Okay.
And instead it was just wrestling.
Side headlocks. Yeah.
Yes, it was a wrestling match instead of a quote unquote heated fight for desperation for a title shot. And also, you're incorrect in some ways because it didn't follow Anarchy in the Arena. It followed the Callis family versus the Lollipop Guild.
But the Paragon.
But still, I mean, it's still kind of there was still the
I know. I'm
haze of that match still.
Garrett, I'm being pedantic on you, and I apologize. I am. It's just one of those things that's like, no, but your exact feedback on the Anarchy in the Arena is mine too, where it's like it's half slapstick comedy, and then we decided to kind of flip the script a little bit.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one a little bit. When we were in the house, I was saying how Samoa Joe is really trying to make this look like a brawl, all while Kenny Omega is trying to play arena DJ. Jeremy, meets expectations, didn't meet expectations, exceeded expectations. Where are you with it?
When we were watching it, I mentioned I had ridiculously high expectations for this match. And there was a point where it was like, okay, it has met those expectations, and I am good with it. It wasn't immediate, but it got there. And, whatever else you want to talk about with the match, the structure, who won should have won, all of those things can all be analyzed today. But hey, they have the die is cast. Hangman is now the guy to face Moxley at All In, and it was a hell of a match. And if he can have this match with Will Ospreay, I think when they run it back between Moxley and Adam Page, if that is in fact the match, they don't have any weird fuckery with it. Going forward, it could be something wild.
Okay, are they gonna? This is just gonna be a normal match, right? Or is Hangman gonna ask for Texas Death in his title match? Because that's the one that we saw him in San Francisco. He beat Moxley in that Texas Death match. Remember, at Revolution, I think it was. Do I have that right?
Moxley asks for Texas Death
to get revenge on Hangman for beating him.
That seems to be his thing. Is he dictates the wildest match to do as champion because he wants to do it. Yeah, I mean, if anything.
By the way, if I have that wrong, people in the comments correct me. I think I have that right. I didn't look it up before, but I
would love for it to be a straight. I would love for it to be a straight match, though.
Is Adam Page the guy to bring together a motley crew of AEW loyalists to take on? That whole thing, the Darbies and the.
Okay, so this is also a little bit of a I don't know if it's a tone thing with me, but when Will was talking about Hangman and saying that they have to topple Jon Moxley, I think what he meant was we have to topple the Death Riders, because if you just have to topple one guy, the baby faces with the 2-on-1 advantage is not a great look there. I think he meant in order to topple the Death Riders. And now if you add the Elite to that, then you're, there's a multitude of guys on the other side. And then, is Swerve gonna want to help the Hangman? We'll have that story, which will probably be the AEW storyline of a lifetime. So that aspect of it is going to be pretty interesting. But the one thing, and I'm glad that they didn't do this, and going back to Jeff's original thought about how he wanted to see the match with the kind of Will proving that he could fight the Hangman. I'm very happy, and I think they even withheld. There was only one real sort of romantic spot in this match, was when they were doing the double lariat and hidden blade at the same time, which I thought was not great, though I know a lot of fans really love that spot. But my fear with this match was they were going to lean into the romance and just those certain spots that, oh, there's so much thought and care and love into this thing that they're doing. And I'm like, Jeff, and I wanted to just see these guys fight. I just wanted to see them fight. That was my whole thing. Because that promo on Wednesday, that's what it was missing. But I said I was in the minority. I know a lot of people loved it for that reason. And I was like, no, I don't want to see the romance. I want to see them throw blows. So anyways, there's your big headline of the show, is that Hangman Page is the number one contender, goes on to face Jon Moxley. We'll get more into the match as we break down the questions that I have prepared. So the other headline is Mercedes beats Jamie Hayter, and that match was excellent. I missed the beginning of it, but it was so long ago that I kind of had to remember all the stuff that had happened because the show was so long. And but I thought they did a really good job. Hayter had the little spill where she slipped on the steps, where I'm just glad that she didn't get hurt. Mercedes escapes with a smart wrestling hold, though I hope Jamie Hayter's head did not hit the mat too hard on that one. And so now you have Mercedes to face Toni Storm, who beat Mina Shirakawa for the women's title. So you have your two big I don't know if Mercedes and Toni and Moxley and Hangman are the two biggest matches. I would think so, because they're the two title matches. But now you have those matches, and you start promoting, starting this Wednesday, and you have a whole through mid-July to really, really get these things over, and to sell those extra tickets that you need to sell to at least put 20,000 in the stadium there. So we got those matches set up. We got through the Owen, and now they have to really start promoting for that big show. And then the last headline here is the Anarchy in the Arena match, which, I'm not the biggest fan of the comedy stuff like that, or just the kind of the mindless violence. But after watching Saturday night's main event and having zero fun, I was like, you know what? This is, I can have fun with this. I can have fun with staples in the nutsack and staples in the tongue and staples on the back. And, I didn't even really get offended with that stuff. It was
Captain Omega trash can.
Yeah, Kenny changing the music to the Pointer Sisters and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, I do think that there was a high entertainment value, even if you rolled your eyes at a lot of the stuff that they did. And I just had fun with it. That was the mood I wanted to be in too. I kind of just wanted to be in the mood for that match. I didn't want to be super critical of the things that they did. I just wanted to have fun. And I think if you had that mindset, you probably were okay with it. If you didn't have that mindset, maybe you weren't. But the baby faces won, which was a little surprising to me that they won, because based on the story that they were telling, I did think that Moxley's team was going to escape with victory there. So those are your main headlines. If you haven't seen Double or Nothing, we're going to get to a grade here. I just want a quick. John and I do this on the Fight Game podcast, where I ask him for a grade, just a letter grade, just real quick, so you can give the audience your very quick and dirty thoughts on overall on the show at large. So let's hit the report card here.
All right, it's time to go to school, son. Come on, get your hands up, man. You need an interpreter? It's time to go to school.
All right, Double or Nothing, Jeff, A through F. What grade would you give Double or Nothing as a show entirely?
A B.
Jeremy?
A-.
I'm sitting right between you guys, probably B+, but there's I think it's an A if you enjoyed the wrestling on the undercard more than sort of why those matches were there, because my main issue with the show going in was that outside of maybe the top 4 matches, everything to me felt like a Dynamite or Collision main event. And that's why when people are saying, "Oh, this is the best card they've put together in a while," blah blah blah, I was like, "Really? Like Okada and Speedball? Is that an important match? Like it's good. It's going to be good, but from an importance aspect, if Okada wins, what does he get out of it? Nothing. If Speedball wins, what does he get out of it? Well, he would win that title, but we knew that he wasn't going to win. So it was kind of a meaningless, just entertaining match. Great. I would have saved that possibly for a main event of a TV show, but maybe you don't get the same exact high quality match. And so there were matches like that similarly. So I'm probably leaning B+, but if someone wanted to argue A-, I could go A-. I had a good time. Some of it is just hanging out with a bunch of dudes and chit-chatting and FTR and Tony Schiavone are doing their thing. And then I just turn to someone and just start talking and just go, okay, I don't give a crap about this. I'm going to go talk to my friend. So that's part of the experience for me. But okay, so that's good. So we generally all just have a high grade for this show, which means it's a good show. So if you didn't watch a show, then it is one worth going out of your way for. Okay, let's talk about best match and worst match, Jeff. Now, this is a question that Big Dave asks us right before we leave every time we go to his house to watch a show. What's the best match of the show? What's the worst match of the show?
Best match was Mercedes and Jamie Hayter. Worst match, I have Mina and Toni down here, but there's a little bit of Okada and Speedball in there for me. But I'm gonna go with Mina and Toni.
Okay, interesting. What about you, Jeremy?
I'm gonna go with the main event, the best match on the show, and I'm gonna go with, and this might be controversial, FTR versus Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness is the worst match on the card.
The thing about that match for me, like I said, there were moments in that match where I was just turning to people and talking because it was
23 minutes. It was bloated.
Yeah, I have a question that where I might throw that match in, but it's a collision match, and because of the content that I do, I am pretty much done on Friday. So anything on the weekend of lesser importance, I kind of give myself a break with, and I'm not a casual. I'm more of a casual collision watcher these days, and that storyline is exclusively happening on Collision. So I was not very interested in the match myself. Now, as far as whether it was good or bad or worst, I would say I'll probably go with the Hurt Syndicate against the Sons of Texas. But I also didn't think it was bad. So it's more of just like the least good match on the show.
Yeah, there were no bad matches on this show. So it's just a personal taste thing. That's why I gave it a minus.
Yeah, and the reason I put Okada and Speedball as possibly my worst is just because I didn't like the booking of it necessarily, not because the work was bad.
Yeah, it's all preferential on the show.
So
it's what you like and don't like.
Seeing another Mercedes and Jamie Hayter best of in our comments.
Yeah,
that's my second. I think it's the second. I think the main event of the show is probably number 1, and then that is number 2, and then depending on I don't even know how to grade something like Anarchy in the Arena, but I thought those were the 2 best matches.
It's kind of funny to me that nobody mentioned Paragon versus Don Callis family, even though everyone was like, "Why is this match on here?" Blah blah blah. But by the time it was on there, you're like, "Wow, these guys are all really good, and this is perfectly fine for it being right here." Albeit just taking up time on a show that was going real long.
Yeah, well, we have a question that will absolutely 100% fit that match in for sure in a second here. Okay, next question. What match do you think went too long, and what match do you think could have had a few more minutes here?
Too short is not applicable. Every match kind of overstayed just a little bit. Too long. I thought Anarchy in the Arena lasted a little bit too long for my taste. And I also think Mina and Toni lasted just a tad too long.
What about you, Jimmy?
I was really surprised that like that tag match, that the second one of the show, was the third longest match of the entire show. It was longer than Mercedes and Hater. I was like, it just felt like you were trying to give FTR enough like time because all the Bucks got all that time and all these other acts. So it was whatever. As for what could have gone longer, Ricochet and Briscoe could have gone just a little bit longer. I don't know.
Interesting. So I have the times here. I'll read off some of them. So the main event went 36 minutes and 55 seconds. Anarchy in the Arena went 35 minutes and 10 seconds. The FTR match went 22 minutes and 30 seconds. And the opener, Mercedes and Jamie Hayter, went 21:15. I will agree with Jeremy. I think the FTR match could have shaved some, like 3 or 4 minutes, and give like 2 of those minutes to the Okada match. I think I would have been okay with that. And then I would have been okay with going home 2 minutes early, I guess. But it's just interesting to see how much time was given, because there was no match that was less than 12 minutes and 40 seconds. And that was the buy-in opener. 12 minutes and 40 seconds. I think all of the matches on this show were longer than every single match on Saturday.
What's your time for the AEW tag match, the tag team match?
The AEW tag team match was just a hair longer than that match. No, it's actually, I apologize. It's shorter by 5 seconds. So
Wild.
12 minutes, 35 seconds. The Hurt Syndicate match was the shortest match on the show. So Wild. There you go. All right, next question. Who had the best surprise or cameo appearance on the show? There weren't many. There have been some shows, and this was part of the allure of AEW in their hot period, was, who's going to show up? Who's coming out? There was a lot of rumors that Eddie Kingston was going to be on this show. He was not. Was there a cameo that worked for you on this one, Jeff?
Mark Briscoe in the Anarchy in the Arena match.
That's a good one.
Absolutely worked for me.
That's a good one.
Because especially to redeem himself after losing, but it's just like, who's the guy who's fought tonight who's going to come out and help this crew? And there's bloody Mark Briscoe just coming out. I just went, oh my God, that's perfect.
Now answer this. Do you think that Mark, after his match with Ricochet, went to the back and just stewed in his own blood and sweat?
Yes.
And stink, and did not even like wash his face?
Yes.
Yes.
I think he grabbed a cold one or a little thing of Jack Daniels and sat
with a straw, made sure none of the blood on his lips came off.
Yes. Didn't want to, other people coming up to him with a towel going, don't touch me. I want to look good for the Anarchy in the Arena match.
Amazing.
And just sat there and talked to people like it was the water cooler. That's what I think happened. And then it's like, is it time for me to go do a somersault plancha off the balcony or off the stage? I'm here for it. Boom, out.
I thought it was like, if you didn't have Kingston, because we were talking about this during the match, we were like, okay, if Kingston doesn't show up here, who would be a good enough replacement? And my mind went to New Japan, so I was like, what about Tanahashi? And then he comes out in the next match after. But we were like, it's Kingston. Who else could come in? And then I didn't even think about Briscoe, and it was absolutely perfect.
The funny thing about this, Garrett, is that you ask this, and there's literally a beat of about 5 seconds before this guy comes in like a springboard cannonball, and you think that he's wearing a red helmet because of the blur of what, and you're like, what fucking luchador is coming in to help out these guys? And then he gets up and you realize it's Briscoe completely covered in all that blood. And the moment of just like, yeah, okay, that works. There's not even like a moment of like trying to think about why this doesn't work. You're just like, sure, 100%, let's go. And we were off. You had Hook show up as well.
That was
and
another
like
one.
He showed up and he left.
That would have been worse. That might have been worse cameo if we're really being honest.
With his South Park Kenny sweatshirt because it was orange. Wild.
And it's Samoa Joe's like, even Samoa Joe, who was his teammate, was like, "Huh?
His
What's
mentor.
going on here?" So, what about you, Jeremy? Do you agree with Jeff, or you have another one?
Yes, I am with him. The Briscoe is my seconding. Yes.
I will just say Tanahashi, just because whenever I see him, he just makes me smile. Even though he is the worn down old man Tanahashi these days, it kind of hurts my feelings to watch him try and run. But I just, Jeff's partner on the Dynamite show. This is last year during this time we were in Vegas, and we were trying to figure out, should we go to Collision? I think the Collision was at the MGM or something. So we're thinking about it, and Paul's like, "Yeah, don't even worry about it. I'll get us tickets." And I was like, "All right, I'm not going to worry about it." So we go to the show, and we sit right in the family section. And so I know Will Washington a little bit. So I tapped his wife on the shoulder and I just introduced myself, and his kids were right there. So we're hanging out with his kids. And so like, there's nobody at this show, by the way. That's that may be why we got the front, but it was awesome because we're like we're right there. And Tanahashi shows up unannounced on Collision. And I was like, "Oh, we didn't know we were getting Tanahashi." And it was just so fun knowing that, he's so close to the end. So anytime I see that dude, I just get really happy. And that was even though it was in like a sort of meaningless match, a cool down match before the main event, I thought, you know what, that'll be the thing that I remember from that match, is the Tanahashi thing. Okay.
My second favorite cameo was Mariah May in the video packages.
Yeah, Jeremy was he was trying to call it. So when Toni Storm, so after Toni Storm beats Mina, they do this whole thing where they used to be buddies, and so Jeremy's like, "Well, no Mariah May, that means she's WWE bound." And we were like, "Well, wait, there's obviously something happening here." And what did they build up to? It was a little bit of a smooch, and then there were some kisses on the leg, I guess, as an apology.
Kissing the knee. No, kissing the knee because it looked like Toni had injured it during the match.
Because of the figure four spot and because of the figure four thing on
and
Wednesday.
then they moved right on to Toni and Mercedes. Like,
yep.
The advertising, it was like rear view mirror. Oh, and to me, I was just like, doesn't seem like Mariah May is in any plans right now.
And she may not be, or she is the follow-up at the pay-per-view in Texas, or she just is WWE bound. Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see with that one. I would not blame her for whatever decision she makes. This is why it is good to have two companies that are doing fairly well, because someone like her, she's got options. Good for her. All right. If you could change one finish on this show, if you could change one person's loss or win, who would it be? What match is it, Jeff?
It's the FTR versus Danny. I can't remember his last name. Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness match. I would have made it non-clean, and I would have. And they also set something up in the promo from Daddy Magic before on Wednesday. It was either Wednesday or Thursday where he said, "I'm coming and I'm going to have a crowbar." He didn't have a crowbar tonight. I was expecting a crowbar to somehow play into it.
Interesting.
So this match needed somebody on the babyface side to go heel. I don't know who necessarily, either Garcia or Nigel or Daddy Magic, but somebody had to turn on somebody to lead to the finish of this match, and it didn't happen. And that's what
Too bad Toni didn't turn on them.
Shivani.
I was expecting Toni to get shatter machine, to be honest.
I thought he was a little gonna be, well, I think he was a little too big for his britches, and I thought they were gonna teach him a lesson, but no, they let him live. They definitely let him live. Actually, I thought you were gonna say the main event, so you surprised me with that one.
Main event is I can justify it in my head, but I think it's gonna play into another of your questions, so I'm gonna say
Okay. All right, Jeremy. Well, do you change another finish?
I got talked into this finish when we were all watching it together. I would have had Kyle Fletcher pin Adam Cole instead of Kyle O'Reilly.
Because it sets up the
match
TNT
between
title
Fletcher and Adam Cole at All In.
You know what's so bad? I as we were thinking about the Paragon match, as I was watching the match and thinking like, man, Adam Cole is so cold. And then I was like, wait, he's got a belt. What belt does he have? And then I was like, wait, he's the TNT champion. Why does he still feel as cold as ice? Like what's I don't know.
Because he
I don't know
is
why. But
ice cold, freezing cold.
It's really bad.
Mr. Freeze.
He's not a priority.
But
Should call themselves the Penguins. That's how cold they are.
But
what are you a paragon of?
We are led to believe that belt is of some importance, right? Like it's a belt that is supposed to be.
It is.
Does he defend the belt? I guess. I'm not watching a lot of Collision, so I guess I'm not.
There is no secondary singles title that's important in this company right now.
So you're saying
this was the Cody Rhodes belt at one point.
Even Omega's title.
Omega's title isn't that important.
And obviously then no Okada. So you're saying Okada's title not either.
No. But they're more important. But those two are more important than the TNT title right now. That's the weird thing.
You know what's? I agree with you, but I think it's because they don't defend them. Like they like you would think you have all of these opportunities for television main events, and you have all of these belts. If you're not going to defend the world title on television, except for maybe once every say 4 months or whatever, you have these other titles that you can defend in actual real feuds and pay them off on TV, but they don't really do that either.
But I'm going to disagree with you. It's not because they're not defended. It's because they're not feuded over.
Yeah.
And
nobody cares about
it. Like this Kenny 4-way means nothing to me on Fyter Fest. Whoopty crap. He's defending the title. Does that make it? No. I want someone to go after that title and take it off of him and tell me why it's important, how much money he's going to make because he's now the whatever the hell belt Kenny.
International?
Oh yeah, it's the international title.
Yeah, and that's why you're getting all the people from the different areas, I guess. But so you're telling me we're not going to see a Hechicero promo about how badly he wants to win this championship?
Hechicero would be a better champion than Kenny, right? At least more interesting.
He loses the title so he can go challenge another title, and then you get freed off of him.
I also love Hechicero.
I do too. I saw that. I saw him on the lineup. I was like, he should be in that 4-way. I would like to see Kenny Omega and Hechicero in a ring together.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the one finish I would change, or the one result I would change. Now, this was before Sir Mark Briscoe interfered in Anarchy in the Arena, but I wanted him to win the stretcher match because, and I think Jeremy brought this up when we were watching. If Ricochet lost the stretcher match, who cares? He didn't take a pin. He just got to play a stupid heel and it actually fits Ricochet's character to kind of get stuck in the ambulance and not be able to get out of it in time or whatever. Yeah, and then Briscoe, because Briscoe's maybe the most he's the most underappreciated guy in the entire company.
Yes.
So that's what the one I would have liked to see. But then he kind of got something in the end with his run in. So I think it lessened that for me. So that was cool. But hey, if he won the stretcher match and then he helped Anarchy in the arena, then that would have been a double win for him. That'd have been nice. Okay, so the next one is, now this may be a long list, but matches that should have been on Dynamite Collision instead of on this pay-per-view. And maybe we could have shaved 45 minutes off of this show. But what's the one or two, Jeff, that you're like, this did not need to be on this show?
The Don Callis family 6-man didn't need to be on here. FTR, Nigel, and Daniel didn't need to be on here.
And that would have been a great Collision main event, right? That probably draws a little bit if that's the Collision main event.
Okada and Speedball didn't need to be on here.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
I thought most of the undercard would have been fine, not being on the show.
The Hurt Syndicate and the Sun of Texas did not need to be on the show.
That would have been a great Dynamite main event with MJF kind of being in the center of things. I agree with all that. I understand, though. I'm going to give you the AEW superfan perspective, which is, and I kind of talked to Paul Fontaine. We're doing some segments that we're putting on YouTube called Takedown. And my argument for the length of these pay-per-views is that if you're AEW and you're kind of living in this WWE world, and something that happens because WWE has so much product is something happens on WWE TV, and then it goes, and then like it gets talked about for 30 seconds, but then there's something else that happens on WWE TV because they have so much content. And so it's just like this cycle of like, you talk about something for a half a day and then you move on and you move on and you move on. And AEW's pay-per-views is really their best opportunity to kind of get the ear and the eyes of the wrestling fan. Because if you have a crazy, like the Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher, a lot of those crazy spots, they were viral for a couple days because they were spectacular, and the match in of itself got talked a lot about. So I get that. You want to throw as many darts at the dartboard to hit the bullseye to actually be the talked about thing in wrestling, because WWE is so powerful right now and there's so much content that they eventually get talked about and then your stuff is forgotten. So going back to whether or not being a great match is a draw, I don't think it's a draw either, but I think it does help AEW's viral marketing or their social media marketing, or just getting the word out about something that you kind of do need to check out. I think it helps there. But as a fan, I don't like sitting at Dave's for 4.5 hours. Do you know how many things I brought to Dave's house? I brought 2 waters, an energy drink, a protein drink, beef jerky, and I already had a coffee. Like, that's just because I knew I was going to be there for 5 hours. So yeah, that's not.
We all pack like food and settle in. And I have a question for you two, actually. Is this a big four? One of the big 4 pay-per-views for AEW?
It used to be the big 2, right?
Yeah. I think Revolution, Full Gear, and All In are no doubters. Right. Is this the outside 4th, or is there another one that you would put in front of it? All Out? Is All Out more important than Double or Nothing?
I think Revolution and Full Gear can sometimes be thrown away because it's generally, sometimes it's not, there's a dud within those two. It's usually just Double or Nothing or All In for me.
Okay.
I will say Double or Nothing has to be in because it was the original pay-per-view. Unless you count All In. You know, they were talking tonight that Double or Nothing kind of created AEW and this is the anniversary that they celebrate. The thing about Revolution is it is the one show where you kind of miss, you're starting to miss AEW pay-per-views because they go the December show all the way until March without a pay-per-view. So there's like a few months in between to like, oh, okay, I'm ready for an AEW show. There's not that many opportunities throughout the year to go 2.5 months without a pay-per-view. So I think Full Gear usually has a halfway decent build, but at the same time, it's like the fans are ready for a pay-per-view. So that's why I like Revolution. Full Gear was their 3rd show technically, right? Because the first one was Double or Nothing, then it was All Out, and then it was Full Gear before they brought All In back. So yeah, I would say those are probably the top 4. For Forbidden Door.
Now they have Anarchy in the Arena every year at Double or Nothing. So it's one of those, you know, like the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Yeah. It's like it's an event pay-per-view too. So, and
you know, Forbidden Door, at least the first one, felt big, but I don't know if it has reached the status for every single one of them.
Yeah, I don't think it has.
You know, but honestly, Double or Nothing. Again, I've been to almost all of them, and I would say the first one was awesome. But then when we watched it back for that episode of the Watch Back, there's some stuff that aged well and some stuff that didn't age well. But it just being there in the building was very memorable. Not all of them have been great to me. There's a couple of them where I was like sitting there going like, man, this thing is just dragging. And like my wife actually came, not only my wife, but Dave's significant other and my wife. And I think there might have been another significant other. We all were in the suite. So, there's food and stuff, and you're a little farther away from the action, but there's other stuff to do. And I just remember thinking that pay-per-view, that was probably like 2 or 3 years ago. I was just kind of bored throughout that one. So I don't know, that one may have been better on TV, but I don't think that they're always good. So this one was probably better than most, though.
I think that one was 2 years ago.
Okay. All right. Now, is there any match of the year candidates on this show? I'm going to guess when it comes to star ratings, the main event will be seen as a match of the year candidate. Do you guys agree?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
No,
I was gonna say no for me, but maybe the main event for other people, but not for me.
I think people are going to try and argue both of the Owen finals match of the year candidates. I would lean towards having Paige and Ospreay in the conversation, but for me, it's still Gabe Kidd and Kenny Omega from the beginning of the year, and nothing's really touching that.
That would be me too, but well, yeah. What is your match of the year so far, Jeff? Have you even thought about it?
No.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's not something I usually think about either, but after watching Omega and Gabe Kidd, I was like, that's the Kenny Omega that I really enjoy.
Yeah, it was just that's the match to beat this year, and there you go. So we'll just see.
Okay.
What is my match of the year? Let me daydream while you guys do the rest of the show.
Chew on that, and we'll hit you up at the end of the show.
I still won't have an answer because I feel like I've watched 8 million matches this year that I don't like.
I know. I would not know what my number 2 was if it's not what we just saw. I'm trying to even think what is the best WWE match of the year? Men's Elimination Chamber, maybe.
That was a good one.
Yeah, let's just
get back to the show.
We're not even a full 5 months into the year anyway, so we got a lot of time. All right, I always have fun with this one just because it's really about a goofy moment or something. But the most gifable thing on this show, what is something that people are going to start using on Twitter and start using in Discords to represent a thought or a moment? I'll start actually, because the one that I keep thinking about is after Anarchy in the Arena, Swerve sticks his tongue out to show us that the staple is literally in his tongue. It wasn't a fake staple gun to the tongue, and he was so happy to show us that the staple was in his tongue. I thought that was kind of a good gifable moment.
Hobbs laughing at the staple gun.
That's another good one. Go ahead.
You just know that Toni and Mina making out is going to end up somewhere in the gifable department.
Yeah, the makeout. The makeout could
just
be
gonna
one.
happen.
Mark Briscoe,
Swerve and Nana showing up on a forklift.
the Briscoe moment in Anarchy in the Arena that we talked about, that'll be a good one too. Like someone who's like, the Forrest Gump running moment, like you can use it for that. And I guess there's a lot of stuff in the Anarchy in the Arena.
Maybe the Styles Clash onto the floor is kind of a botch maneuver.
Ooh. Yeah. All right. Next one. This is meant to be derogatory, by the way. Your Tony Schiavone announcer moment of the show. Jeremy asked me about this, and I'm going to give Schiavone some credit. I thought he was completely fine on this show for the most part. It was Taz who was frustrating me more so than anybody else.
Yes.
Did you have a moment?
When you said this, I thought you meant moments that I was entertained by commentary, and for me it was Shivani during the FTR match where he kept on calling people jerks and like, what do you mean your fingers were crossed when you apologized to me? Him getting mad at that, I thought that was hilarious. Before most, especially Taz in the latter stages of this pay-per-view.
Yeah, there's I think the one that wins is there's a moment in the main event. Ospreay and Hanger are in the corner and they're kind of fighting on the top rope. Ospreay slides down, gets underneath, goes between Hangman's legs to set up a kick that he's done in just about every single match for like the last 10 years. And Taz described this move as if he'd never seen it before. And I was like, what are you talking? Like, dude, we see this every single match. And Excalibur tried to cover for him by saying that, you know, we see this often or whatever. But I was just like, okay, Taz, like, what are you, like, did you just lose your train of thought? What the hell's going on? I think the only one where I think it was a little cute line by Shivani, but when he was talking about the Young Bucks coming out as the founding fathers when they were getting beat up, he called them the floundering fathers. And then he was so happy that he made that joke. Like he was doing like the Barry Horowitz pat on the back. I couldn't see it, but I could feel it kind of moment. Yeah. So that was the other one for me.
I'll take one more. Taz basically no-selling his son coming back from injury.
From illness, or what was the injury?
Well, whatever.
He got necked by Claudio on a chair.
I know, but what was the real reason that he had a neck injury? I thought we were told he had like he was throwing up or something.
I don't know, but it was treated with the utmost kind of concern and whatnot by Taz in the weeks he wasn't there, and then he just shows up and was like, yeah, he's his own man.
It was like he had like long diarrhea or something. Like he was just.
He's alive. My concerns are no longer. I have no more concerns. He's alive.
Yeah, that was pretty wacky.
Golf Club Jones over there. All right, good job out of you, Taz.
It's somewhat tangentially related, but I could not get past the hot mic between Taz and Excalibur at the beginning and throughout portions of the show, and then in the main event. There were times where I thought Excalibur and Taz were afraid of silence. Like they had to say something, and multiple times, like, and you're just like, what are you talking about? Like,
our friend Brad in the Discord after Hangman won the match, I think I just saw a note from him that was like STFU Taz. Like, just stop talking. Like, just let the moment happen. Let it be.
Absolutely. He had to find a value with it as an announcer. It's like, we know you're doing this for a while. Like, this is a very serious match. It feels like
shut up, Jim Nance, for God's sake.
By the way, I wanted to bring in one comment here. 2FK, shout out to 2FK. Very unhappy with the main event, wasting Ospreay's career while he's the best in the world. Do you agree with that, Jeff?
He is on my who lost the most.
Oh,
and it's Will Ospreay.
Let's get to that category now. Then, yeah, who gained the most and who lost the most on this show?
Gained the most. You have to say either Swerve or possibly even again Mercedes in some way because that's the money match to make. And for weeks it was like, oh, she's gonna fight Athena at all. And no. In fact, I think Mercedes again. I said after the Hater match. AEW should have built the company around Mercedes. And I believe that in so many ways. She is just the best combination of character and wrestler and wrestling in character during a match that they have. Like other guys may have great technical matches, but they miss the character part of it. Mm-hmm. She gets it. She's so good. Look, Ospreay, I mean, especially in the media run up to this show, has been writing checks his ass can't cash for the most part. But he was your biggest free agent signing. And he continues to he's in the mix. He'll get to a big match. He'll lose it. We'll build him back up. He'll be in a big match. He'll lose it. The time to make him a fresh and new an exciting star and the pillar of your company, I think has passed. I think it's gone. You can build him up and you can make him champion and you can call him, oh, he's the best wrestler in the world, blah, 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 blah. That's great. Chance to make him a star was when he first came in. And then you put him on TV doing 70-30 matches where he's the 30 for 3 weeks. Okay, there's something to this television part of professional wrestling that a lot of guys just don't get. And to me, it's one of those things where on the weekly television, Will Ospreay as a draw, when they're saying, I think ex-WWE guys should have to prove that they can bring in more house show crowds. All right, you guys aren't clearing $3,000 every week. I think the time to make him the face and a crossover star in certain media, which is what AEW needs.
Yep.
Desperately.
Yep.
Which is why I also think you should build around Mercedes. But
Mercedes and Swerve seem to be the two best at it because they also seem to be the two most willing, by the way, to get out there and to talk about.
Your best at it is Mark Briscoe, but you're never going to do that with him.
Yeah.
I mean, he is phenomenal when he goes out on lives because he's crazy, but he's also, oh my God, he's so adorable. Let him do everybody's weather. He's so great at it. But to me, to make Will Ospreay that breakout, fresh face, oh my God, you got to see this guy every week on TV, that time's passed. It's gone, and you can't get it back.
Wow.
And even when you make him champion, he's just going to be the best wrestler holding the title. He's not going to be the guy. I mean, he's going to be the guy in AEW, but he won't be able to be the guy in major media.
Okay, now going back to
unless Jey Uso is still champ, and then maybe.
Going back to how you would have booked Ospreay originally when he came in, do you think had they done that, he could have been like one of the tippy top stars, not only just in the ring, but when you talk about pro wrestling and the zeitgeist, he's one of the ones that you go, oh, there's Roman Reigns. Oh, there's John Cena. Oh, there's Will Ospreay.
I think if you don't overexpose him on the weekly and you just book him in a title match to win it almost immediately, yes, I do. I think he'd need to cut the right kinds of promos, and I don't have full faith in that, given that this last week he went into really odd John Cena after a title loss territory, where he's in there, say, hey, everybody, I'm here, that kind of stuff, which I don't think matches him. But I think if he comes in with kind of his aura and he still has a little bit of mystery to him, yes, I do. Jeremy, I think that's the other thing that killed him was those first 3 weeks of matches. It killed the mystery. You've seen his entire moveset. There it is, right there. Boom. That's
a good point. Jeremy, what do you think about Jeff's thoughts on? No, well, just mostly on what Jeff said about Ospreay.
I'm with him on Ospreay. I think Will lost a lot tonight. I think he's a huge loser in terms of, look, a lot of people pegged him as the guy. The money was there. The big deal. Like we talked last year, like he was going to win the title and you could just shotgun the title onto this guy and like you could just reinvigorate the entire company. And then it didn't happen. And we're like, okay, by the time we get to London next year at Forbidden Door, this guy can have the title on him. He can go put him in front of everybody. He's the guy. And at this point, he's not the guy. And at this point, I don't know when he's going to be the guy. Maybe there is a belief in this company that they can make him their Cody, where he can lose the opportunity to win the big one. And then a year later, they come back around and then he's learned his lessons and do all this thing. I think it's a foolhardy plan. I think if that's your idea, is that he loses and he builds himself back up, like there's a window here that we're all talking about, and there's a lot of things the company is doing right now in terms of building up goodwill and booking and planning. And it feels like you're playing with house money that you don't have when you're not making Will Ospreay the guy.
Interesting. I sort of agree. And we talked about Wembley last year, whether or not last year Wembley was the right time to make him the champion and all that. I think waiting until next year is going to be even worse. But if Hangman just won the title and you switch the title to get it to Ospreay because of London, what does that do to Hangman? So there's lots of questions about it. And I was surprised. I thought Ospreay was going to win this one.
Well, here's the other thing: is your other options to hold that big title. You've had hold the big title. You have Hangman, you have Omega, you have Swerve, and all three of those guys have had a run with the world title, and none have been the guy in that sort of frame. So when you sign a new guy to be the guy, you don't want to put him with those other guys. It's kind of a thing. You want to see what you have with him. And the longer you wait on those and I'd also include MJF in that run, because I had high hopes for the MJF title run, and they just did not pan out at all.
Yeah.
But neither did Hangman, neither did Omega for me. Neither did Swerve, really.
You know what though? Metrics during the MJF run, if you're looking at pay-per-view buys and TV ratings and all that stuff, are actually a lot more favorable to him than I think we even realized.
People were entertained by the Brochacho segments, don't get me wrong. And he is a compelling character, but he was never the breakout with his mouth because he went with the funny too much. I think it was one of those, or he went over the line on into the wrong kind of heat at times, which he is prone to do. It was one of those things where it's like, I thought a great talker would be able to elevate the title to more media coverage and stuff, and it just didn't work for that. And I don't. Yeah, and it's just one of those things where it's like Will is the known unknown, or the unknown known, so to speak. So it's like, okay, he's a star somewhere else. Let's push him as the guy here and see if he can be a star for us immediately. And instead it was like, no, we need to put him in good matches, and that's what'll get him over. And I'm just like, no.
It's interesting to me. Adam Page is the guy that got the most out of it as a result.
I actually think I think Swerve got more out of this pay-per-view than anybody, but okay, let me hear your case.
Okay, so I was thinking about this based off of the Countdown special. Did you watch that Countdown special, Jeff?
Yeah. I did.
So he did that promo, and it was a tremendous promo.
Yeah.
But if you close your eyes and you listen to that promo, he's not talking about Swerve. He's talking about Punk. And so there's a sense of rehabilitation within the company that they got behind him, and now he's going to be the world title guy at their biggest event of the year, when 2 years ago this guy wouldn't even go and do an interview with anybody, and now he's doing an interview.
He still kind of really doesn't do interviews, though.
He did an interview with Variety, like he had the Variety interview.
He's not going to do an interview with pro wrestling people.
No, absolutely not. But it's de-icing, and they're getting behind him, and he's doing more things, and the company has got the confidence behind him. And there was always the sense that in the last couple years that he was one of the top guys, but not the top guy. Like that, like they're the Swerve and the Omega and the Ospreay were always going to be like kind of in front of him. And as a result of tonight, I'm looking at it like, no, he is one of the tippy top guys in this company. And he gained a lot in terms of where he is in the pecking order, in my opinion.
And this goes to another of your questions, Garrett, so I apologize that I'm going ahead on some of these.
It's totally fine.
I think he needs to lead off Dynamite. He needs to cut the promo of his life, and he needs to drop the basically the
redemption tour.
Not just the redemption tour, but the I'm in my feels and I don't care about your weakness anymore, Paige. I want to see your strength.
Yes.
That is going to be interesting how they treat that, because to some extent that is what endears him to a lot of the fans.
But that's why all the fans are wrong on him too. So,
well, I just keep saying, like, I've never seen it before where you have the guy who is sort of not confident or doesn't really know how he should be or how he should act or how he should feel. Like, that is not generally the person who holds the title. It's like usually that character is kind of like a crossroads. Like, do they go up and to the right, or do they go down and then they go up and to the right? Like the one that kind of, this is a bad comparison, but the one that I always think about is when they were so confused about what the Austin character was post heel turn with Vince, and then they bring in WCW, and there's the skit where Austin is at the bar and he's got to choose what side is he going to be on. And I was just like, come on, man. Like, if this was the real Stone Cold, like, we wouldn't have to ask what the answer would be. Like, you just, okay, like, he's just going to go kick ass for the good guys. But because he was at that crossroads moment, it was like, okay, he's not the same. Like, I don't even really care anymore. And that's where you risk this Hangman character, is if you're not sure if, like, I'm not talking about the hardcore AEW fans. Of course, they are endeared to him. They've watched his entire rise. They've been rooting for him the entire way. I'm talking about people who are on the fence about him. If you are still on the fence about him winning the title after he wins this match, you should not. That's not where we should be going with him. We should be going full boat. He's going to win the title. That's who you believe in. And I think you're right that Wednesday he should open up that show and really cut the promo that we've kind of all been waiting for, instead of this, am I good or am I bad, or am I just flawed, or, did I do this bad thing? Why did I do this bad? Like, no, whatever happened in the past, I'm going to win the title. I'm kicking Jon Moxley's ass.
Yes.
Yes. He's the man. I won the tournament. I'm going to take the title. Yeah, I agree. Line it all up.
So another person who I thought did very well for themselves tonight was Hobbs. There seemed to be an attempt, at least, and I feel like Hobbs is a start and stop. Like, almost every week, they start and then you don't see him, or he's somebody's second. Like, there seemed to be an attempt in Anarchy in the Arena to make him a badass again, which they've done like 3 or 4 different times now. So I hope that is something that we keep going with, because I thought he looked great in that match. He's great as a badass, but as soon as Tony decides you have to have a 4-star match in order to get into title consideration, he's done. Yeah. The person who maybe lost a little bit and continues to lose is Daniel Garcia. I feel like the passing out in the submission is almost worse than the tap out now. Yeah, it happens so much. And
because you can't tell the story that, oh, he didn't quit, he passed out. Yeah, well, he still doesn't know how to get out of the move.
Right.
And that used to work when you didn't have MMA. But now you have MMA. So I
don't think it protects him as much as they think that it protects him.
Correct.
He lost the title, and then he is used to get FTR over. Good job with that contract.
He should have gone to NXT. No, I'm serious. He would have gotten some kind of personality.
There was a game of like chicken with signing that contract. Like, there were matches that they offered and all of these things. And once he signed the contract, he got his title run, and this is what he's going to be.
Yes, I'm here to be a wrestler. Okay, great.
Bye.
Have you met Top Flight and Private Party? They're over here.
Like, he's not going to be higher up in the card after a match like this. He's going down the card. He might not be on All In. He might not be on Forbidden Door. Actually, I doubt he's on Forbidden Door whatsoever. But
and I have nothing but contempt for Chris Jericho because of it now.
Here's someone else who I think lost a little bit, and just in this very small program, Sammy Guevara. Not that he had anything to gain either, but he was obviously the one to get beat up, and he was going to take all the bumps. This was the night where we had a discussion. What does Sammy Guevara do? Where does he go? Does he stay in AEW? Does he go to NXT? And John LaRocca, who, by the way, AEW's biggest critic, gave Ospreay and Hangman 5 stars. I was wondering how
Did
close
he really?
you guys were going to be. Yeah, on Twitter. You can check out his Twitter. So we were talking about, well, what do you do if you're Sammy Guevara? And he said, I think he's missed the boat. I don't even know if NXT wants him. And I said, well, wait a second here. Here's what we can do with NXT. We have NXT AAA. We have this lean into the Mexico. You don't. He's not the a luchador in the same sense. He's like an American. And I would, if this was me, I don't usually fantasy book, but let's bring back to Los Gringos Locos. And let's put Sammy Guevara. You have to find whomever his partner is. But the idea of Los Gringos Locos is like, yeah, I'm Hispanic, but I'm kind of American. Like I'm Oscar De La Hoya. I'm not Julio Cesar Chavez. Like that.
The answer here is Guevara and Dominic Mysterio
That'd be awesome.
Awesome.
That'd be great.
I'm gonna take a different tact. He's married and he has a kid. Go whoever will pay you the most and make you work the least. And I think that's where he is right now. ROH.
I do wonder what his contract is like, because he was signed probably before the big money for AEW, right?
R.I.P. the Pillars.
We were talking about Jack Perry earlier today too, where like what's that dude doing?
I may yell at him the next time I see him at the gym. When the F are you coming back? Who are you?
I think the worst thing that happened to Sammy Guevara in the last 6 months here is Ricochet doing his role better than him as a heel. Like everything that Sammy Guevara was as a heel under Jericho, all that stuff, Ricochet does it so much better as his role, that slimy little shit heel that you want to see get his ass kicked, but just gets one up on the baby faces.
I still regret my idea for Sammy was not done during the Inner Circle thing, and that was basically him playing the Tom Cruise role from Color of Money.
Oh wow!
Where he just has a black T-shirt with the word Sammy across from it, and he's just the cockiest jerk. Just doing moves and dancing in between the moves and just being a total flake. I mean, he would have been perfect for it, and they just never did it. I don't know which. I think Sammy needs a change of scenery, but Ricky Starks is doing what Sammy Guevara would be doing. So I don't know.
He'll never do it, but he and his wife should take the kid, go to Japan, stay in Tokyo, work some shows around that area, be it Noah and Tokyo Joshi Pro, whatever, but get some seasoning and show that you're serious, and then come on back and give it another shot.
I'm here for Taynara Conti's Japanese run.
I am 100% here for it too.
I'm so here for it.
With Sammy doing daycare while she's working, absolutely.
She with her judo background, she'd be an absolute buzzsaw in Japan, and I'd love it. And she has that. She got character before she got any form of work in her. So it's one of those things.
I'm telling you, this is viable.
No, I was here for it before she had to leave due to the pregnancy. I was like, send her to Japan for an excursion for like 6 months and just bring her back as a killer.
So the gear, when it comes to pay-per-views, the entrance, the ideas, the creativity, there are some people who really lean into that stuff for pay-per-views. Was there anything in the gear or in the entrance where you think of they made themselves or this is a star or this is a bigger star when it came to that stuff from tonight's show?
I loved the Founding Fathers gear.
I'm
not gonna lie. It was so obnoxious. It was so over the top.
Okay, why didn't we get George Washington wigs?
The budget probably. I don't know. It's hard to get. It's hard to get a.
If they were going to disappear in 2 minutes, spend money
they weren't near Colonial Williamsburg. It's not like there's a lot of haberdashers in the area that could give you a powdered wig in the general Scottsdale area. I liked Mercedes' homage to the Hart family. I thought that was kind of nice. And I liked Swerve as Vega from Street Fighter. I think that's what he was doing, right? At first I thought it was Predator, but I think it was Vega because I don't think
he had the claws or whatever, right?
Yeah, he had the claw, and they also don't have the IP rights to Predator for Warner Brothers. So, yeah, I thought it was Street Fighter.
Oh, all right.
Interesting.
I see it now, but I thought there was the
I thought it was Predator at first too, but the claw made me think Vega.
Interesting. Okay.
What about you, Jeremy?
Yeah, I thought the swerve entrance. I was amused at Kenny Omega doing his Captain America cosplay with his gear, and I thought it was.
Could someone other than like his 5-year-old niece have painted the trash can though for the Shield? It didn't look like great art there for the Shield.
I liken it to his ability to get dressed for a show on Dynamite. You know, it's the bare minimum of
This was painted by the Boys and Girls Club of Phoenix.
Oh,
it's
man.
the spirit of the idea, Garrett.
Yeah. I guess a couple of others would have been. I thought Will's robe was fantastic. It was over the top. It was glorious, and then he ended up losing the match. I also thought
horseshoe tassels on his ass.
Yeah, that was interesting. By the way, the Team Pink won the matches, right? Because you said Mercedes, and then Hangman had pink on his tights, so it was Team Pink winning.
Protostar was fantastic too. That gear was just so over the top obnoxious.
And of course, you know, Toni Storm does put a lot of effort into her. She doesn't generally wear the same thing more than once, so I'm always interested in her creativity about her character as well. So our buddy Keisaku said, "Why no Martha Hart at the show?" And I had a single answer to this, which is, yeah, I'd love to come to Vegas. Oh. It's in Glendale, Arizona this year. I think I'm busy. I'll watch on pay-per-view.
I honestly thought it was a Canadian dislike of United States politics thing, and nobody was just going to mention it. She's like, yeah, I'm going to skip this year. And then that was that.
Edmonton has a playoff game today.
Yeah, we don't know. I don't know.
I feel like you planned that one ahead of time.
They couldn't find powdered wigs for the Bucks. I don't think they could find a hat for me. That's why.
Yeah. We had talked about this a couple years ago. I think it was the Celtics and the Heat were in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think it was a Game 7 actually. And Tony stretched out the show because he wanted the main event to start after the basketball game was over. And I think one of the things that they did to stretch out the show was do the Martha Hart segment, right? Like, didn't she did some sort of thing that I remember.
And everybody blamed her for taking too much time. It's like, no, her whole purpose was to go out there and stretch, guys.
Yeah, but the basketball game, I think, was done about halfway through the show, so they didn't really need the stretching for it. But yeah, and I mean, it's kind of a nice thing to have Martha Hart there. I don't think it's necessary. It's more like it just reminds you of the cup and the reason why they do these matches. I also thought, I was like, well, maybe they could, bring out the previous winners. And I was like, nope, that's not a good idea. Cause then you got to bring Britt out. You got to bring Britt out. You got to bring Adam Cole out. And so, yeah, not a great idea. But anyways, all right. Last couple things that I wanted to ask you guys about. So I want you to guess the Dave Meltzer star rating for 2 matches. One, and I'm not going to say Mercedes because I actually asked him and he told me already, so I won't say that one. But The main event and Anarchy in the Arena. I want you guys to guess what you think, not what you think the star rating is, what you think Dave is going to choose as his star rating for both of those matches.
I think he'll go 4 3/4 for Anarchy, and he'll go the full 5 for the main event.
What do you think, Jeremy?
I agree on the 4 3/4 on Anarchy, but I think he's going 5.5.
I'm going 5.5 too for the main event. And
there were tells in the match where I was like, okay.
Usually Dave will say stuff like,
"This is unfair."
No. So here's why I'm going to tell you why it's not unfair this time. Because usually, you're right. We do have a little bit of we do have an advantage there.
Well, no. I just mean in general. There's no such thing as something better than perfect. And he didn't do this 5 and a cap.
So here's what happened. Before the match started, I said, I have unreasonably high expectations for this match. And Dave immediately followed up with, I also have unreasonably high expectations for this match. And from that point on, it's like, okay, so either it's going to be under 5 or it could be way over 5.
I'm just done with the AP grading on for Dave on this.
Sure.
Stuff.
So here's the, at least to us who were there, the famous one is the crazy Omega Okada one that was the highest rated match of all time. So were you there for that one, Jeremy?
No.
Okay, you were not there yet. So what happened is we decided not to watch that live. We decided to go to Dave's house at 8 o'clock in the morning or something, and we all agreed to stay off of social media so we could watch the match. And about halfway through the match, I turned to him and I go, "You're going to be in trouble this week." And he knew exactly what I was talking about. And that's where we were like, yeah, this thing is going to be the highest rated match that he's ever given. And that he was just going to get so much shit for it. We did not have that moment during this match. He said something to the effect of, "This is really great." But he says this is really great to a lot of the matches that he loves. So I didn't sense one way or another that this thing was going to be, a crazy high match. But just based on how I saw the match and how I feel he rates, I also will say 5.5. And Anarchy in the Arena, I'm going to go 4.5. So that's my guess. All right. We went through what do they open up Dynamite with. So let's end with this one, and then we'll kind of talk other comments that you guys may have about the show overall.
Okay.
If there's one thing, because a lot of times, we watch these great shows, and I can't really remember what happened in the match or who won the title here or what blah 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 blah. But a lot of times I can remember certain moments, like for that Revolution show, I'll always remember the crazy what was it, what was the move that Ospreay and Fletcher did off the top of the cage that just made everyone go, what the hell?
The
Spanish fly off the top of the cage.
Yeah.
I will remember that probably for as long as I watch wrestling, for both good and bad reasons. By the way, I was so worried that Will just broke his hip during the match. Thankfully he did not. But is there a moment? What is the lasting, everlasting moment that you will remember from the show?
That Mercedes DDT into a victory roll that I'm not sure was supposed to be one or the other, but it turned into both. I'm still wondering, was she supposed to plant her on her head like that and then roll her, or was it supposed to be just like a banana peel type thing? That's going to live rent free in my head for a while, to be honest with you. That and the dive onto a gurney.
Oh yeah.
That's just insane to me that you'd ever do that spot, but okay. Because gurneys move and inanimate objects usually don't agree, but that thing was crazy.
All
right, Jeremy, what about you?
I think the visual of Willow with her ear lodged through a lock is going to have some real estate in my head for a while. In addition to that, I just think the Powerhouse Hobbs just taking every bit of punishment and no selling it and just kind of having that, I am a world-class ass kicker, and I'm going to kill you. Like, said throughout the show, did a lot to, that might sit with me for a while.
I already mentioned the swerve with the staple on his tongue. I will always remember that. But I think the thing in the main event, so I mentioned the one spot where Hangman is setting up for the buckshot and Will is setting up for the hidden blade, and they both know that they're doing it. They both slowly take off the elbow pads. And then they do it, and Will just runs with his hands down like a dumbass and gets clotheslined. And so it's cool for the sake of, well, somebody had to take that move. I just thought it was kind of like they could have done it a little bit better. But the next time they did it, and the camera had a really great shot where Will hit him with the hidden blade, really, really kind of out of nowhere and surprise like that. I that was the best spot in the whole match to me, and I will remember that as a part of that match. But yeah, that I thought that was really great work from the both of them. All right, I think we wrapped everything up. I just want to go through some of the other results that we didn't really talk about too much. So I didn't watch any of this buy-in show. Anna Jay and Harley Cameron beat Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford.
That match over-delivered.
Oh, the finish really annoyed me.
I had that as exceeding my expectations.
It did. It absolutely did.
That was more fun than I thought it should have been.
They screwed up the finish, but other than that, it was a fantastic match.
Yeah.
Completely over-delivered.
And then I guess this was a party match. I don't know if it was as good as where's my drop here for the John LaRocca party match drop. I don't know what it was. I didn't watch it, but 8-man tag. It was Bandito, AR Fox, and Hologram and Commander beating Roppongi Vice and Crew. Roppongi Vice and Crew were on a team together? What the hell?
RPG Vice. Roppongi is so 2017.
It is now RPG Vice, role-playing game Vice.
Sure.
And then some of the other I think we hit just about every match.
Yeah, the only question you didn't hit was the best video package. I thought the Sons of Texas had a really good one for that lead up into the Herd Syndicate match. I thought,
what do you think about on a show like this where we know this thing's going long? Do you think we need the video packages as much on pay-per-views as we do on television, which they don't often do as much on television?
Yes, but I think you need to knock out 3 matches out of the card. That's the bigger problem to me. It's not the video packages. The video packages break up things and allow people to go to the bathroom and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. That is definitely true. Or but the flip side is WWE. You're like going to the bathroom and then you're coming back and you're like, oh, I still have time to make a sandwich, and oh, I still have time to like get a soda, and then you can
go see a movie and come back. And well, yeah, no, I get that, but I mean, you juxtapose that versus the other way that AEW used to do pay-per-views, where it was just like match. Yeah. I just couldn't handle those.
Dude, live was even worse.
Yes,
because it's not easy to go to. There's a time aspect of going to the restroom in an arena, going up the stairs, waiting in line, coming back, and by the time you come back, you missed half of the next match.
Yeah, and there'll be some jackass on like the figure 4 board will go, "What kind of bladder do you have? I was able to do it for fun." It's like, shut up, fucking loser. Sorry.
The F4W board. Shots fired at the F4W board at the end of the show. It's a long one. We're all on the West Coast. So it's only 11:30.
Yeah, but I work East Coast hours. I'm starting to fall asleep. Let's go.
Wait, are you working tomorrow?
No, I'm not, but I'm still my body.
I work East Coast hours too. I'm with you, but I'm holding on.
Your guys' body clock is a little different than mine. So okay, well, yes. I'll get us out of here. All right, so that was Double or Nothing. When it comes to AEW pay-per-views, I know we gave our grade. We talked about expectations stuff. Better or worse than a normal AEW pay-per-view for you, Jeff, or kind of what you generally expect when it comes to those
I'd
shows?
Actually say better, because I'm usually much harsher on AEW pay-per-views than most people. So I thought it was better slightly. There wasn't anything that totally I went, man, that was a waste of my time. Why were they doing that necessarily?
I'm with you. I agree. Like John and I, on
I'm kind of La Rocca Jr. So I mean, I
on F4W, it's usually pro AEW. I mean, I'm not just talking about podcasters. I'm talking about.
Oh, I was talking about the board. Never mind. Go ahead. I don't mean you.
No, but the writers as well. I know the writers they really enjoy for the most part AEW, and John and I are probably the hardest on them out of anybody doing content for F4W. And I agree with you. I thought there wasn't that many things that I could complain about. Like that I was like, oh man, I hate it when they do X. Like I thought everything was pretty presentable, but again, some of it might just be because I hated Saturday night's main event so much. My God.
Well, I'll tell you why
shows I've seen by WWE in a couple years.
I'll tell you why I'm more positive on is because if that party match had been on the card as opposed to the zero or opposed to the buy-in where I could skip it, which I did. I went and made snacks. I watched the tag, and there you go. If that party match had been on the card, I would have been railing, and I'd been pissed.
It was a collision match.
Yes,
it was. So you good with this one too, Jeremy, or was it?
Yeah, the AEW pay-per-view is how the company makes its bread better. It's a signature, it's what the company. Everything is defined around these big shows that they do. So I have pretty high expectations for them. And I think they met my expectations. They didn't exceed my expectations. And there's a lot of shows in the last 6 months that have not met my expectations. So I feel like they're trending in the right direction with these shows.
Since I was talking about F4W a second ago, I do want to shout out my favorite recapper. And there's some good ones, but Ryan Howard is my favorite recapper. A- show, Anarchy, and the Owen finals more than lived up to the hype. Stretcher match over delivered.
He and I are on the same page here. This is great.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, so we're good here. We have shows from Jeff and Jeremy coming this week. Jeff will be with Paul on Wednesday, hoping to see a Hangman. I want to kick John Moxley's ass promo to somewhere in that show. But you know what?
I need my son to be proud of me. Oh God.
Well, you know what we don't get sometimes on these shows though is often
follow up.
The follow up is like, I'll Dave. Dave has said this, so I'm fine saying this, but he's like, sometimes these guys are so beat up that Toni just gives them the time off and they don't even come to the show. So
or they're pushing the replay and
True.
They go, yeah, just watch the great pay-per-view we had. And here's a commander match.
Yeah.
They have 7 weeks to build all in. They'll use 5 of them.
Well, I hope this is one of them because you have some really good momentum. You have some really positive momentum coming out of this show. Let's use that momentum for Wednesday.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So
but
Jeff
Fighter
and Paul
Fest is next week.
Yeah, it is. Fighter Fest. Well, they don't have a pay-per-view between now and All In, so they have some time to do these little branded special, Dynamite collisions. Then there's that 4-hour show that they're going to do, which is nuts, coming up, not this week, but the following week. 4-hour show. I think that is Fighter Fest, actually. 4 hours straight of AEW television. Like, that's insane. What is the what kind of ratings do you expect the 10 o'clock to midnight segment to do? Better than what they probably would get, but still.
I suspect it's going to tank and they'll blame never mind. I'm not even going to say who they'll blame, but they'll put a segment on there and someone will get unnecessary blame for show being too long.
Their fault.
I got it. The last 2 hours of that show, Adam Cole, Daniel Garcia, 120-minute time limit.
Iron Man match.
Iron Man for 2 hours. Just let them cook for 2 hours and they can take all of the blame.
It'll be great technical wrestling, say AEW fans.
Savage.
All right. So Jeff and Paul Wednesday night after Dynamite, and then Jeremy and Stephen Conway on Thursday afternoon with Speaking of Strong Style.
I also I'll be going solo for our next AEW recap though. I'll be with JD Oliva doing a show because he will not be available.
I will be out of town.
I locked him in. I asked Mike Gilbert as well, but he is enjoying his semi-retirement hiatus until such time that he decides to come back and grace.
So I thought that was all move related. Did they actually?
He's enjoying not watching wrestling. And
no way.
He
watches TNA. He only watches
whatever
TNA.
he wants and not talking about it.
Wow, I didn't know. I thought it was related to his move, and then they were just figuring that out, and then they're going to get back. I
asked if he wanted to dust off the microphone and join in, and he's like, "I'm really enjoying not doing any of that right now." To like, will you let me know? And
I need to reach out to Mike. That just means I don't know what's going on.
He'll be back in August or whatever. You know, he can do his run-ins when at his time, but you know, good for him. He's a hustler and he's been working really, really hard.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thanks to Jeff for hanging out with us tonight. Thanks to Jeremy, who I think, Jeremy, you've done all of these recaps since we kind of rebranded it to doing it this way. So shout out to Jeremy.
The only way I can keep my job.
And I am Double G. So for Jeff, for Jeremy, we will see you when we see you. Peace out.